I watched my son turn the key in my front door, his hand steady, his face calm. Or close enough to it that the difference didn't matter. "Oh, you're here," I said from the living room chair. "I've got a little surprise for you." Kyle froze. The color drained from his face like water from a cracked glass. Behind him, Rebecca clutched his arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into his jacket sleeve. "Dad?" His voice cracked. "How did you get back from Rio?" I leaned forward, letting the lamplight catch my face. "That's the question, isn't it? How does a 62-year-old man with no passport, no cash, and no credit cards make it back from Brazil in 3 days?" Rebecca recovered first. She always did. That's what made her dangerous. "Jack, this is insane. We thought you were extending your trip. Kyle has been worried sick." "Really?" I stood up slowly, feeling every year of my age in my knees. "Is that why you changed the locks yesterday? Because you were so worried?" Kyle's mouth opened, closed. He looked at Rebecca, then back at me. The calculation in his eyes was something new, something I'd never seen before. Or maybe I just hadn't wanted to see it. "We can explain," he started. "No need." I pulled a folder from the side table. "I've got bank statements here showing you've been siphoning money from my accounts for 8 months. I've got the forged power of attorney you filed 3 weeks ago. I've got the real estate documents you prepared to sell this house the day after I left for Brazil." "You left those papers where anyone could find them," Rebecca said. Her voice had gone cold, professional. "That's not secure." I almost laughed. Almost. "You're right. I should have been more careful, should have seen what you two were planning. But I trusted my son. Stupid, right?" Kyle stepped forward. For a second, I saw the boy he used to be, the kid who'd helped me fix the fence when he was 12, who'd stayed up all night with me when his mother died. Then that flicker vanished, replaced by something harder. "You don't understand the situation," he said. "You're getting old, Dad. You can't manage your finances anymore. We were trying to help." "Help?" The word tasted bitter. "Is that what we're calling it? You convinced me to take that trip to Rio. You arranged everything, bought the tickets, booked the hotel, even drove me to the airport." "We wanted you to have a vacation," Rebecca said. "You've been stressed." "Right. And when we landed, you told me you'd left our return tickets in the hotel safe. Remember that, Kyle? How you said you'd run back and get them while I waited at the airport restaurant?" He didn't answer. "Except you didn't come back. And when I went to the hotel, they told me you'd checked out. Both of you. 12 hours earlier." "That's not..." "They showed me the security footage. You want to know what I saw? I saw my son and his wife loading their bags into a taxi at 3 a.m., laughing. Actually laughing. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to crush bones. "So I went to the embassy," I continued. "But my passport was gone, stolen from my hotel room the night before. Funny thing, the hotel said someone matching Kyle's description was seen on my floor around that time. They gave me a nice police report about it." Rebecca's face had gone carefully blank. Kyle looked at the floor. "It took me 18 hours to get emergency documents. Another day to scrape together enough money for a flight. I called in every favor I had left. And you know what kept me going on that flight home? The thought of watching your faces when you opened this door." "Dad, listen." Kyle tried again. "No." My voice came out harder than I intended. "You listen. You left me in a foreign country with nothing. You stole my passport, my money, everything. You changed my locks. You started liquidating my assets. You want to know what that's called? It's called elder abuse. It's called fraud. It's called abandonment." "You're being dramatic," Rebecca said, but her voice shook slightly. "We were going to bring you home. We just needed time to..." "To what? Sell my house? Clean out my accounts? Have me declared incompetent?" "You are incompetent." Kyle's composure finally cracked. "You're old. You don't understand how the world works anymore. This house is worth a fortune, and you're just sitting here wasting it. We have plans, Dad. Rebecca and I, we have a future. We need capital to start our business. We need my money. It would have been mine anyway. Eventually. I tasted the word. But you couldn't wait, could you? You had to have it now. I walked to the front door, opened it wide. Get out. This is still my father's house, Kyle said, but he didn't move toward me. You can't just watch me. You've got two choices. Walk out that door right now, or I call the police and show them everything I've got. The forged documents, the bank fraud, the passport theft. I talked to a lawyer this morning. She said I've got enough to put you both away for 5 to 7 years. Maybe more if they really dig into what you've done. Rebecca grabbed Kyle's arm, started pulling him toward the door. She knew when a game was lost. You'll regret this, Kyle said as they backed onto the porch. You need us. You can't survive alone. You'll come crawling back. Maybe, I said, but I doubt it. Goodbye, Kyle. I closed the door, locked it. Listened to their footsteps fade down the walkway, their angry whispers cutting through the night air. Then I sat down in the chair and waited for my hands to stop shaking. This wasn't the end, not even close. This was just the opening move. The phone started ringing at 6 the next morning. I let it go to voicemail. Kyle's voice, carefully measured now, asking me to reconsider, saying we could work this out like adults, saying Rebecca was sorry, that they both were, that stress had made them do stupid things. I deleted the message without listening to the end. By noon, Rebecca tried. Her voice was sweeter, more calculated. She talked about family, about how much Kyle loved me, about misunderstandings and second chances. I deleted that one too. The third call came from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Mr. Hayes? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. This is Susan Park from First National Bank. I'm calling about some irregularities we've noticed in your accounts. My chest tightened. What kind of irregularities? Several large transfers were initiated yesterday, but they were flagged by our fraud detection system. Someone tried to move approximately $200,000 from your savings account to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The transaction was blocked, but I need to verify that you didn't authorize it. I didn't. I see. And there's also a matter of a power of attorney document filed last month giving your son Kyle Hayes full access to your accounts. Did you sign that document, Mr. Hayes? No. She was quiet for a moment. I heard computer keys clicking. I'm going to need you to come into the branch today. We'll need to file a formal fraud report and secure your accounts. Can you make it here by 3? I'll be there at 2. Good. Bring any documentation you have. And Mr. Hayes, don't discuss this with anyone, especially not your son. If this is what I think it is, we need to build a solid case before he realizes we're onto him. I hung up and stared at the wall. $200,000. Everything I had left after selling the business. Everything I'd saved for retirement, for emergencies, for whatever years I had remaining. Kyle had tried to take it all. The rage that swept through me was clean and cold. I'd spent the night feeling betrayed, hurt, confused. Now I just felt focused. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the bank, but first I made a stop. 3 blocks down, there was a small office building I'd visited once before, back when Kyle first started acting strange, before the trip to Rio, before I fully understood what was happening. The door on the 3rd floor read, Ellis Investigations. Victor Ellis was waiting for me, feet up on his desk, reading a paperback Western. He looked up when I walked in and grinned. Jack Hayes, right on time. You said to come if things got worse. They got worse? I told him everything. The Rio trip, the abandoned airport, the forged documents, the attempted wire transfer that morning. Victor listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back and whistled. Your kid's got ambition, I'll give him that. Stupid ambition, but ambition. Can you help me? I can do better than help. I've been digging into your son's life like you asked. Want to know what I found? Tell me. He opened a file folder thick with papers and photographs. Kyle's been planning this for at least a year, maybe longer. He and Rebecca, they've been living way beyond their means. Expensive restaurants, designer clothes, a lease on a BMW they can't afford. They're drowning in debt. How much debt? $80,000 in credit cards, another $40,000 in personal loans. They're 3 months behind on rent. Their landlord started eviction proceedings. I felt something twist in my stomach. Why didn't he just ask me for help? Because help wouldn't be enough. They don't want a loan, Jack. They want everything. The house, the savings, the works. And they figured you were old enough, trusting enough, that they could take it. He slid a photograph across the desk. Kyle and Rebecca at some upscale bar, drinks in hand, laughing with a man in an expensive suit. Know him? Victor asked. No. That's Marcus Webb, real estate developer, very successful, very connected, and very interested in buying your house. According to my sources, Rebecca's been talking to him for months. She promised him a deal on your property if he'd give them a finder's fee, $50,000 for steering the sale his way. They already had a buyer lined up, before they even put you on that plane. I stared at the photograph, at my son's face, bright with hope and greed. What else? I asked. Rebecca's got a record. Nothing major, but interesting. She was arrested for credit card fraud in 2019. Charges were dropped when she paid restitution, but the pattern's there. She's done this before. Kyle knows? Has to. They were dating when it happened. Victor closed the folder. Here's what I think. Rebecca's the brains. She saw your situation, saw an old man with a valuable house and some savings, and she decided Kyle was her ticket to easy money. She's been working on him, probably for years, convincing him that he deserves what you have, that you're too old to appreciate it, that it's really his anyway, just waiting to be claimed. And Kyle bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. Victor stood up, poured himself coffee from a machine in the corner. Question is, what do you want to do about it? I want them to pay. You can press charges. With what you've got, the bank fraud, the forged power of attorney, the passport theft, they'll both go to prison. No question. But that's the nuclear option. Once you pull that trigger, there's no going back. Kyle's your son. Prison changes people, hardens them. He comes out in 5 years, he'll be someone else, someone worse. What's the alternative? Victor smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We get creative. The plan Victor laid out was simple in concept, complex in execution. We weren't going to destroy Kyle and Rebecca. We were going to dismantle them piece by piece, taking away everything they'd tried to steal from me, while making sure they understood exactly what they'd lost. First thing, Victor said, spreading documents across his desk. We secure everything, your accounts, your property, your identity. We make it impossible for them to touch anything else. Already started at the bank. Good, but we need more than that. I've got a lawyer friend specializes in elder law and fraud cases. Her name's Patricia Chen. She'll help us build an airtight legal wall around your assets, power of attorney revocations, restraining orders if necessary, fraud alerts on all your credit accounts. How much is this going to cost? Patricia owes me a favor. She'll do the initial work for free, just charge you if it goes to court, and my rate's negotiable for a case this interesting. I nodded. What's the second step? We flipped the script. They thought you'd disappear in Rio, right? Thought you'd be stuck there, maybe die there, definitely be gone long enough for them to finish looting your estate. Instead, you came back. That scared them, but they're not done. They're desperate now, which makes them dangerous but also sloppy. So we wait for them to make another move. We encourage them to make another move, a stupid one. Victor pulled out another photograph, this one showing Rebecca meeting with the real estate developer again. Marcus Webb is the key. He's expecting to buy your house at below market value. Rebecca promised him a sweetheart deal. If we dangle that in front of them, make them think they still have a shot at the money, they'll overreach. How? You're going to let them think they're winning. For a little while. Victor's plan was elegant in its cruelty. I would pretend to reconsider, to be open to reconciliation. I'd invite Kyle over, have a calm conversation, let him think his apology had worked. Then I'd mention, casually, that I was considering selling the house after all, that I was tired, that maintaining it was too much work, that maybe they'd been right about me needing to simplify my life. That'll bring them running, Victor said, Rebecca especially. And when they come at you with their plan, their reasonable suggestion that they help manage the sale, that's when we've got them. Got them how? We document everything, record the conversations, get them to admit what they did in Rio, what they've been planning. Then we take all of that, everything we've collected, and we go to Marcus Webb directly. We show him who he's been dealing with. We make sure he knows that buying property from them means buying into a fraud case. He's a legitimate businessman, Jack. He won't touch it once he sees the reality. And Kyle and Rebecca? They'll have promised Webb a deal they can't deliver. They'll have burned their bridge to the $50,000 finder's fee, and they'll know that you know everything, that you've been playing them the whole time. I sat back, processing it all. It was manipulative, calculated, and exactly what they deserved. There's more, Victor said quietly. If you want it. What? Their landlord, like I said, is about to evict them. I know him. Used to do security work for his property management company. I can make sure that eviction happens faster. I can make sure their credit cards get flagged for fraud investigation. I can make their lives very, very difficult in ways that have nothing to do with you directly, but everything to do with the mess they've created. That's not revenge, I said. That's just letting consequences happen. Exactly. I thought about Kyle's face when he'd told me I was incompetent, the casual cruelty in his voice, the way he'd abandoned me in that Rio airport without looking back. Do it, I said. The reconciliation meeting happened 3 days later. Kyle came alone, which surprised me. I'd expected Rebecca to be there, managing the conversation like she managed everything else. He stood on my porch, hands in his pockets, looking younger than his 30 years. Thanks for seeing me, Dad. Come in. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd confronted them. Kyle perched on the edge of the sofa, nervous energy radiating off him. I've been thinking a lot, he started. About what happened, about what I did. And? I was wrong. We were wrong. The stress of our financial situation, it made us do things we shouldn't have done. But abandoning you in Rio, that was inexcusable. I know that now. I stayed quiet, letting him fill the silence. Rebecca's been a bad influence, he continued. I see that now. She's the one who suggested the Rio trip, who thought if you were gone for a while we could solve our money problems. But I went along with it. That's on me. You're blaming your wife. I'm accepting responsibility, but yeah, she pushed for a lot of it. The forged power of attorney, that was her idea. She knows people who can make documents look legitimate. I should have said no. It was a masterful performance. Just enough contrition, just enough blame shifting, carefully calibrated to make me feel sympathetic without admitting to anything that could be used against him legally. What do you want, Kyle? I want to make this right. I want to help you. For real this time. How? He leaned forward. This house, Dad, it's too much for you. The maintenance, the property taxes, everything. You said it yourself last year. You're tired, so why not sell? Take the money, move into a nice condo somewhere. Let Rebecca and me handle the details. We'll make sure you get a fair price, that everything's handled properly. And you'd take a commission on the sale. We'd take a small fee for managing it, sure. That's normal. But the money would be yours, all of it. The recording device in my pocket was getting every word. Victor had given it to me that morning, a tiny digital recorder no bigger than a thumb drive. I'll think about it, I said. Kyle's face brightened. Really? I'm not making any promises. But I'll think about it. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am too old to handle all this. He stood up, actually smiled. You won't regret this, Dad. I promise. After he left, I sat in the quiet house and listened to the recording twice. He'd been careful, hadn't admitted to anything specific about Rio, but he'd confirmed that Rebecca had connections to document forgers, that they'd planned the trip with financial motives, that they wanted control of the house sale. It wasn't enough for a criminal case, but it was enough for what came next. I called Victor. He took the bait. Good. Now we wait. Rebecca will want to move fast before you change your mind. She'll set up a meeting with Webb, try to lock in the deal. When she does, we'll be ready. The call came 2 days later. Rebecca, her voice warm and friendly like nothing had happened. Jack, I'm so glad Kyle talked to you. I know things got out of hand. We all said things we didn't mean. It happens. Listen, Kyle mentioned you're thinking about selling the house. I have a contact who might be interested. Very professional, very fair. He's bought several properties in the neighborhood. I think you'd like him. What's his name? Marcus Webb. He's a developer. I can set up a meeting if you're interested. Sure. Why not? Wonderful. How about Tuesday? We can meet at his office, go over some numbers, see if it makes sense for everyone. I'll be there. I hung up and called Victor immediately. Tuesday, Webb's office. Perfect. I'll have Patricia there too. We'll corner them all at once. What if it goes wrong? It won't. Trust me. But I didn't trust easily anymore. Not after Kyle. Not after Rebecca. So I spent the weekend preparing for every possible outcome, making copies of all the documents, securing them in a safety deposit box at a different bank, writing out everything that had happened in a detailed statement that I left with Patricia's office. If something happened to me, if they tried something desperate, there would be a trail. Tuesday came cold and gray, the kind of day that felt like a warning. Webb's office was downtown, in a renovated historic building that probably cost more per square foot than my entire house was worth. Rebecca met me in the lobby, dressed professionally in a navy suit, her smile calculated and precise. Jack, so glad you could make it. Marcus is upstairs. Kyle's running a bit late, but he'll be here. We rode the elevator in silence. She checked her phone twice, her fingers moving fast across the screen. Webb's office was all glass and steel, expensive furniture and carefully curated art. The man himself stood when we entered, extending a hand. Mid-40s, fit, with the kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about money. Mr. Hayes, Marcus Webb, thank you for meeting with me. Call me Jack. Jack, please sit. Can I get you coffee? Water? I'm fine. Rebecca sat next to me, her presence carefully managed. Webb settled behind his desk, pulled up something on his computer. I've been very interested in your property, he said. Prime location, good bones, excellent lot size. I think we could work out a deal that benefits everyone. What kind of number are we talking about? He turned the screen toward me. The figure displayed was about 30% below market value. That seems low, I said. It's a fair price considering the work the house needs. New roof, foundation issues, outdated electrical. I'd have to put at least $100,000 into renovations. There's no foundation issues. I had an inspector look at it. He found some concerns. When? Webb glanced at Rebecca. She shifted in her chair. Last month, Rebecca said smoothly. I arranged it. Wanted to get ahead of things, see what we were dealing with. You sent an inspector to my house without telling me. I knew you were busy preparing for the trip. I was trying to help. The door opened. Kyle walked in, saw me, and stopped. Dad, I didn't think you'd actually come. Wouldn't miss it, I said. Another person entered behind Kyle. Patricia Chen, carrying a leather briefcase, her expression professionally neutral. Webb stood up. I'm sorry, who are you? Patricia Chen, Mr. Hayes' attorney. I'm here to observe this meeting and ensure his interests are protected. Rebecca's face went pale. Kyle looked at me with something close to betrayal. I thought we were past lawyers, he said. Just being careful, I replied. Patricia sat down, opened her briefcase, and pulled out a thick folder. Mr. Webb, before we go any further, I think you should see these documents. She laid them out on the desk, one by one. The forged power of attorney, the bank statements showing Kyle's attempted wire transfer, the police report from Rio about my stolen passport, the photo of Rebecca meeting with Webb months ago, before the Rio trip, before any legitimate reason to discuss selling my house. This is what you're buying into, Patricia said. Elder fraud, document forgery, a coordinated effort to steal a man's property while leaving him stranded in a foreign country. Webb's professional smile vanished. He looked at Rebecca, then Kyle, then back at the documents. Is this true? It's complicated, Rebecca started. It's fraud, Patricia said. And if you proceed with this purchase knowing what you know now, you become part of it. Accessory after the fact. I assume you'd rather not have that on your record. Webb stood up. I think we're done here. Rebecca, I appreciate you bringing this opportunity to me, but I don't do business this way. Please leave. Marcus, wait, Rebecca tried. Now. Kyle grabbed her arm, pulled her toward the door. She resisted, started to argue, but he dragged her out. Their voices echoed in the hallway, sharp and accusatory. When they were gone, Webb sat down heavily. I'm sorry, he said to me. I had no idea. She approached me 6 months ago, said you were elderly, ready to sell, looking for a quick transaction. She made it sound legitimate. I'm sure she did. I should have done more due diligence. That's on me. He looked at Patricia. Am I in legal trouble here? Not if you distance yourself now and cooperate if needed. I'd recommend documenting everything you discussed with Rebecca and Kyle. Dates, amounts, promises made. It'll protect you if this goes to trial. He nodded, looking tired. I'll have my assistant put together a file. Outside, the gray day had turned to rain. Patricia walked with me to her car, holding an umbrella over both of us. That went well, she said. They'll be furious. Let them be. You've got documentation now of their attempt to defraud you through the property sale. Combined with everything else, you've got enough to bury them if they try anything else. What happens now? Now you decide how far you want to take this. Criminal charges, civil suit, restraining orders. It's your call. I looked back at the building. Through the glass doors, I could see Kyle and Rebecca arguing in the lobby. Even from here, I could read the anger in their body language, the accusation and blame flying between them. I want to finish this, I said, but not with courts and lawyers, not yet. Then what? I'll let you know. The eviction happened on Thursday. Victor called to tell me about it, his voice carrying a grim satisfaction. Their landlord showed up with a sheriff's deputy at 8 this morning, gave them 30 minutes to pack essentials. Everything else got put in storage, but they'll have to pay storage fees to get it back, which they can't because their credit cards just got declined. Where are they now? Rebecca's parents, probably, or a cheap motel. Does it matter? It didn't, not really, but I felt a strange hollowness in my chest, hearing about my son being put out on the street. Even after everything, some part of me still remembered the kid he'd been. How are you holding up? Victor asked. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. He's my son. He tried to destroy you. I know, but he's still my son. Victor was quiet for a moment. You having second thoughts about this? No. I just wish it had ended differently. It's not over yet. They're desperate now. Desperate people do stupid things. Keep your guard up. He was right. The call came that night, Kyle's number showing up on my phone at 11:30. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Dad. His voice was rough, strained. We need to talk. About what? About fixing this. About making things right. It's too late for that. It's not. It can't be. Please, Dad, I'm your son. Doesn't that mean anything? It used to. I made mistakes, I know that. But I can change. We can work this out. You don't have to destroy us. I'm not destroying you, Kyle. I'm just not letting you destroy me. Rebecca's pregnant. The words hung in the air like smoke. I sat down slowly, feeling the weight of them. When did you find out? Last week. We were going to tell you after the sale went through. We wanted to surprise you. We thought... His voice cracked. We thought the money would help us start over. Be better parents than we've been children. That's not my problem. She's your grandchild. Doesn't that matter? It should have. Part of me wanted it to. You should have thought about that before you left me in Rio. I'm begging you, Dad. Please. We have nothing. No apartment, no money, no way to... I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off. Sleep didn't come easy that night. I kept seeing Kyle's face as a kid, laughing as we tossed a baseball in the backyard, kept hearing his voice at his mother's funeral, thanking me for being strong when he couldn't be, kept remembering all the moments that had made me believe he was a good person, someone worth trusting. But people changed. Or maybe they just revealed who they'd always been. In the morning, I found a letter slipped under my door. Kyle's handwriting, messy and urgent. Dad, I know you're angry. I know I deserve it. But I'm writing this because I need you to understand what really happened. Rebecca, she's not who you think she is. She's not who I thought she was either. I found out things after the Rio trip, things that scared me. She has connections to people I didn't know about, dangerous people. She told me if I didn't go through with the plan, they'd come after me, after you. I was trying to protect us both. Please believe me. I never wanted to hurt you. I was trapped. I'm still trapped. If you won't help me, at least don't make this worse. Please. Kyle. I read it twice, then crumpled it and threw it away. It was a lie. Had to be. Just another manipulation, another attempt to make me feel guilty, to make me back down. The pregnancy claim was probably fake too. Everything with them was calculated, staged, designed to exploit emotion. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered doubt. I called Victor. Kyle left a letter, claims Rebecca forced him into everything, says she has dangerous connections. Let me guess, he's the victim now. That's what it sounds like. Classic abuse tactic. When the direct approach fails, play up the sympathy angle. Make yourself seem powerless. Get the mark questioning their own judgment. So it's bullshit. Probably, but I can dig deeper if you want. See if there's any truth to the dangerous connections angle. Do it. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Victor's research took 3 days. When he called me back, his voice was different. Serious in a way I hadn't heard before. You need to come to my office, now. What did you find? Not over the phone. Get here. I drove across town with a growing sense of dread. Whatever Victor had found, it was bad enough that he didn't want to talk about it openly. His office door was locked. He let me in quickly, checked the hallway before shutting it. Sit down, he said. I sat. He pulled out a file, thicker than the first one had been. Rebecca's connected to some serious people. Not mob exactly, but adjacent. Her uncle runs a loan operation in Atlantic City, not the kind you go to through a bank, the kind that charges 50% interest and breaks your legs if you don't pay. Kyle borrowed from him? Rebecca did. Last year, before they got desperate about your house, she took out $40,000 to cover their debts. Thought she could pay it back quick, but the interest got out of hand. They owe almost $80,000 now. That's why they needed my money. That's why they needed it fast. Her uncle doesn't wait around. He's already sent people to talk to them twice. Each time, Rebecca promised payment was coming. She told them she had a big deal in the works, that her father-in-law was loaded and about to sell his house. My chest went cold. She told loan sharks about me? Worse. She told them where you live, what you're worth, everything. Victor leaned forward. Jack, if Rebecca can't pay, her uncle's people might come after you directly. They might think you're the reason the deal fell through, that you're holding out on money that should have paid them back. That's insane. That's how they operate. They don't care about logic or fairness. They care about getting paid. What do? First, you lock down your security. Good locks, alarm system, maybe cameras. Second, you carry your phone at all times. If anyone approaches you asking about money or Rebecca or anything connected to her, you call me immediately. Third, we consider going to the police. This is beyond civil fraud now. This is potential violent crime. I felt the world tilting. This wasn't just about revenge anymore, about teaching Kyle and Rebecca a lesson. This was about survival. Does Kyle know? About his wife's connections? Yeah, I think he does. That letter he left you, it might have been more honest than you thought. He probably is scared. Problem is, fear doesn't make him less guilty. He still participated in the fraud. He still abandoned you in Rio. Being a coward doesn't make him innocent. What about the pregnancy? I checked. Rebecca did visit a women's clinic 2 weeks ago. Can't confirm if she's actually pregnant without medical records, but she at least went through the motions. I put my head in my hands. Everything was spiraling out of control, getting bigger and more dangerous than I'd imagined. I just wanted them to face consequences, I said. I wanted them to understand what they did to me. And they will. But we need to be smart about this. These loan shark people, they're not going to care about your revenge plan. They're going to care about recovering their money, which means we need to make sure they understand you're not involved in Rebecca's debt. How do we do that? Victor pulled out another folder. We reach out to them directly. I've got a contact who knows Rebecca's uncle. We set up a meeting, explain the situation, show them documentation that Rebecca tried to steal from you and failed. We make it clear that you're not a source of money for them, that targeting you would be pointless and would only bring police attention. You want me to meet with loan sharks? I want you to neutralize a threat. Big difference. And if they don't believe me, then we go to the police with everything. The fraud, the loans, the threats. We let the system handle it. But that's plan B. Plan A is managing this ourselves. I looked at him, at this man who'd become my only ally in this mess. When? Tomorrow. They've agreed to meet at a neutral location. Diner on Route 9. Public, cameras everywhere. Nothing can happen there. We go in, we talk, we leave. Simple. Nothing about this is simple. No, Victor agreed, but it's necessary. The diner smelled like old coffee and frying grease. Victor and I sat in a booth near the back, waiting. I'd barely slept the night before, running through every possible scenario in my head. Most of them ended badly. Relax, Victor said. You look like you're about to have a heart attack. Maybe I am. These guys are businessmen. Rough businessmen, sure, but businessmen. They don't want trouble. They just want their money. We show them they're not getting it from you, they'll move on. To Kyle and Rebecca. That's their problem, not yours. 2 men walked in. One was huge, 6'4" at least, with a shaved head and shoulders like a linebacker. The other was smaller, maybe 50, with gray hair and expensive glasses. They spotted us and walked over. The smaller man slid into the booth across from us. The big one stood at the end of the table, blocking any easy exit. Victor, the smaller man said. Been a while. Tommy, thanks for meeting us. Tommy looked at me with eyes that had seen too much and felt too little. You're Jack Hayes. I am? My niece owes me a lot of money. She says you're the reason she can't pay. Your niece tried to steal from me. She failed. That's not my problem. Tommy smiled thinly. See, that's where you're wrong. When family owes me money, their problems become my problems. And when their problems involve other people, those people become my problems too. Victor slid documents across the table. Rebecca tried to defraud Jack, forged his signature, attempted wire fraud, tried to force the sale of his house to pay you back. None of it worked, because Jack caught her. He's got no obligation to her debt. Tommy looked through the papers without much interest. Doesn't change the math. She borrowed $80,000. She needs to pay $80,000. If she can't, someone has to. Not me, I said. You're her father-in-law, family. She's not my family, not anymore. I've disowned my son, cut him off completely. Whatever debt she's carrying, it dies with her. Tommy leaned back, studying me. You're tough for an old guy. Most people in your position, they'd be offering to help just to make me go away. I'm not most people. No, I guess you're not. He pushed the documents back toward Victor. Here's my problem. Rebecca promised me payment 3 times now. Each time she doesn't deliver. That makes me look weak. Makes people think they can borrow from me and skip out. I can't have that. So collect from her. I intend to. But she's broke. Your son's broke. They've got nothing I can take. Again, not my problem. Tommy's expression hardened. You keep saying that, but I could make it your problem. Could make it very much your problem. The big man shifted slightly. Victor tensed beside me. You could try, I said, keeping my voice steady. But I'm 62 years old. I've got documentation of everything Rebecca did, and it's all filed with my lawyer. Copies sent to the police, to the FBI, to everyone who matters. If something happens to me, all of that goes public, and all of it points back to Rebecca and her debt to you. You'd have federal investigators crawling up your ass within a week. Tommy stared at me. The diner felt very quiet. You're bluffing, he said finally. Try me. Victor pulled out his phone, showed Tommy the screen. It displayed an email draft addressed to multiple recipients, including the FBI field office, with attachments clearly labeled. All Jack has to do is not check in with me twice a day, Victor said. If I don't hear from him, this sends automatically. Your operation gets exposed, your niece goes down for fraud, and you get investigated for extortion and possibly worse. Is $80,000 worth that kind of heat? Tommy looked at the phone for a long moment. Then he laughed, a dry sound without humor. You two came prepared. I respect that. He stood up. Fine. Jack Hayes, you're off the hook. But you tell your son something for me. Tell him his wife's debt is now his debt. Tell him he's got 30 days to come up with at least $20,000 as a down payment. After that, the interest keeps running and my patience runs out. We clear? Crystal. Good. He nodded to the big man, and they walked out. Victor and I sat in silence for a minute. My hands were shaking. I hid them under the table. That went better than expected, Victor said. Better. He threatened my son. That son. Still my son. Then warn him. But that's all you owe him. You don't owe him money. You definitely don't owe him $80,000 to bail out his criminal wife. I knew he was right. But it didn't make me feel any better. I called Kyle that afternoon. He answered on the first ring. Dad? I need to tell you something. Rebecca's uncle, Tommy, he knows the deal fell through. He's coming for payment. You've got 30 days to come up with $20,000, or things get bad. Silence. Then, how do you know Tommy? I met with him. Made it clear I'm not involved in Rebecca's debt. You what? His voice rose, cracking. You met with him? Do you have any idea what you've done? He's going to think I ratted on him, that I brought you in to make trouble. I didn't mention you at all. Just made it clear I'm not a source of money. That doesn't matter. Just being associated with you now makes me a target. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you married a woman connected to loan sharks. This is your fault, all of it. If you just sold the house like we asked, none of this would have happened. I'm not responsible for your choices, Kyle. You're my father. You're supposed to help me. I was your father. Past tense. You gave that up when you abandoned me in Rio. Now you're just a stranger who used to live in my house. I hung up before he could respond. The guilt came later, in the quiet hours of the evening. I sat in my living room, the same room where this had all started, and wondered if I'd gone too far. Wondered if pushing Kyle toward dangerous people made me as bad as he was. But no, I'd given him information, that was all. A warning. What he did with it was his choice. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. Rebecca. I deleted it without responding. Another text, this one from Kyle's number. We're leaving town. Don't try to find us. Don't try to contact us. You'll never hear from us again. I hope it was worth it. I stared at those words for a long time. Then I saved the message and turned off my phone. 3 weeks passed. No calls, no texts, no signs of Kyle or Rebecca. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt empty. Victor checked in regularly, making sure I was okay, updating me on what little information he could gather. Kyle and Rebecca had left town. That much was confirmed. Their storage unit had been cleared out, their few remaining possessions loaded into a borrowed van. No forwarding address. They're probably hiding from Tommy, Victor said. Smart move, really. Distance themselves from the debt, start over somewhere new. With a baby on the way. If that's even real. Could have been another manipulation. Maybe. But I didn't believe that. Something about Kyle's voice in that last call, the desperation in it felt genuine. He was scared, trapped, running from consequences that kept multiplying. I tried to feel satisfied, tried to tell myself this was justice, that they'd gotten what they deserved. But satisfaction never came. The house felt bigger without the possibility of them returning. Emptier. I'd lived here for 30 years, raised Kyle in these rooms, buried my wife from this address. Now it was just me and ghosts. Patricia called on a Wednesday. I wanted to check in, see how you're doing. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. What do you want me to say? That I'm happy? That destroying my son's life feels good? You didn't destroy his life. He destroyed his own life. You just refused to be destroyed with him. It doesn't feel like much of a victory. It's not supposed to feel like a victory. It's supposed to feel like survival. She paused. Look, I know this is hard, but you did the right thing. You protected yourself. You held him accountable. Those are important things. I know. Do you? Because you sound like you're about to do something stupid, like track him down and try to fix everything. I'm not. Good, because there's nothing to fix. Kyle made his choices. He chose Rebecca, chose fraud, chose to betray you. Those choices have consequences. Let him face them. After we hung up, I walked through the house room by room. Kyle's old bedroom, still decorated like he was 17. My wife's sewing room, unchanged since she died. The kitchen where we'd eaten 1,000 meals together as a family. All of it felt like a museum now, a monument to something that didn't exist anymore. I was standing in Kyle's room when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Jack Hayes? A woman's voice, young and frightened. Yes? This is County General Hospital. We have your son Kyle here. He's been injured. He's asking for you. My chest went tight. How badly injured? I can't discuss details over the phone, but you should come as soon as possible. I drove to the hospital in a daze, running red lights, not caring about speed limits. Whatever anger I'd felt, whatever hurt, it vanished in the face of that phone call. He was still my son, still the kid I'd raised. The emergency room was chaos. I found a nurse, gave her Kyle's name, and she directed me to a room in the back. Kyle was lying in a hospital bed, his face bruised and swollen. One arm was in a cast, bandages wrapped around his ribs. Dad, he said when he saw me. His voice was thick, slurred by painkillers. What happened? Tommy's guys, they found us in Philly, said we hadn't made the down payment, said we needed a reminder of what happens to people who don't pay. Where's Rebecca? She ran, left me there, just ran. He laughed bitterly. Guess I deserved that. I pulled a chair over, sat down next to the bed. Up close, the damage was worse. His left eye was nearly swollen shut. A cut on his cheek had been stitched up. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck. "How bad is it?" I asked. "Broken arm, cracked ribs, concussion? Could have been worse. Just send a message." And the message was received? Loud and clear. He turned his head to look at me, the one good eye focusing with difficulty. "You came. You're my son. After everything I did, after I left you in Rio, tried to steal from you, lied to you, you still came." Of course I came. He started crying then, silent tears running down his bruised face. "I'm sorry. God, Dad, I'm so sorry. You were right about Rebecca. You were right about everything. I just couldn't see it, or I didn't want to see it." "What happened to her?" "I don't know. She took off when the guys showed up. Haven't heard from her since. Her phone's disconnected." He wiped at his face with his good hand. "The pregnancy was fake. She admitted it before she left. Said she thought it would make you back off. Give us more time. Just another lie." I should have felt vindicated. Should have felt like this proved everything I'd said about her. Instead, I just felt tired. "What are you going to do now?" I asked. "I don't know. I don't have anything. No money. No place to stay. Tommy's people said the debt doesn't go away. They'll keep coming until it's paid." "How much do you actually owe?" "With interest? Close to 90,000 now." I sat back, processing that number. It was everything in my savings. Every dollar I had left after expenses. "I can't pay that," I said. "I'm not asking you to. I deserve this. All of it. I made the choices. I have to face the consequences." He closed his eyes. "But I'm glad you came. Even if it's just to say goodbye." "I'm not saying goodbye." "You should. I'm poison, Dad. Everything I touch turns to shit. You'd be better off without me. You're still my son. That's not enough anymore." I sat with him for 2 hours while he drifted in and out of sleep. The nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting medications. No one asked me to leave. When visiting hours ended, I drove home in the dark, my mind churning. Kyle was right about one thing. He'd made terrible choices, betrayed me in ways that should have been unforgivable. But he was also broken now, beaten down by the same forces he'd tried to use against me. Was there a difference between justice and revenge? Between consequences and cruelty? I didn't know anymore. At home, I found Victor sitting on my porch. "Heard about Kyle," he said. "You okay?" "I don't know. Tommy's guys worked him over pretty good." "You knew?" "I keep tabs. Figured you'd hear about it eventually." He studied me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking my son's in the hospital because of choices I made." "No. He's in the hospital because of choices he made. You didn't force him to marry Rebecca. Didn't force him to borrow money from loan sharks. Didn't force him to commit fraud. I knew Tommy would come after him. I warned him, but I knew. So what? You want to pay off his debt now? Bail him out?" "I don't know what I want." Victor leaned forward. "Listen to me, Jack. Kyle's an adult. He made adult decisions. Bad ones, sure, but his. You can't take responsibility for that. You can't fix it. All you can do is decide whether you're willing to destroy yourself trying." "He's my son. Being related to him doesn't change that." "It doesn't mean anything if there's no respect behind it." I knew he was right, but knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally were different things. "I need to think," I said. "Don't think too long. Tommy's not a patient man. Kyle's got maybe another week before they come back to finish the job." After Victor left, I sat in the dark living room, staring at nothing. The house felt different now. Not like a sanctuary, but like a cage. All this space, all this property, all these memories, and for what? But what was the alternative? Pay off his debt and teach him that betrayal had no consequences? That he could destroy me and I'd still save him? There had to be a middle ground. Something between abandonment and enablement. I just had to figure out what it was. Morning brought clarity. Not the kind I'd hoped for, but clarity nonetheless. I called Patricia first. I need to know my options. For what? For helping Kyle without destroying myself. She was quiet for a moment. I was afraid you'd say that. He's my son. He's an adult who committed multiple felonies against you. But okay, let's say you want to help. What are you thinking? His debt is $90,000. I've got about $200,000 in savings. If I pay off his debt, I've still got enough to live on for a while, maybe sell the house eventually, downsize. And what does Kyle do after you pay? How do you know he won't just get in trouble again? You're letting him face consequences. There's a difference. Patricia, I need to know if there's a legal way to do this. Some kind of structured payment, oversight, something that protects both of us. She sighed. There might be. I'd have to look into it. But Jack, you need to understand what you're doing. You're rewarding bad behavior. You're teaching Kyle that he can betray you and still get bailed out. That's not love. That's enabling. Maybe. But it's my choice. Okay, give me a day. I'll see what I can put together. Next, I called Victor. He didn't pick up. I left a message asking him to meet me. Then I drove back to the hospital. Kyle was awake, staring at the ceiling. He looked worse in daylight, the bruises darker, the swelling more pronounced. Hey, I said from the doorway. He turned his head slowly. You came back. I've been thinking about your situation. Don't. His voice was flat. Don't try to save me, Dad. I don't deserve it. Probably not, but I'm going to anyway. His good eye widened. What? I'm going to pay off your debt, all of it. But there are conditions. I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm offering. Now shut up and listen. I pulled the chair over, sat down. Here's how this works. I pay Tommy the $90,000. In return, you sign documents giving me legal oversight of your finances for the next 5 years. Any money you make, any job you get, I have to approve major expenses. You essentially become financially accountable to me. That's insane. That's the deal. You also go to therapy, real therapy, not some half-assed couple of sessions. You work with someone to figure out how you ended up here. What made you think fraud and betrayal were acceptable options? Dad, I'm not done. You also testify against Rebecca if the authorities want to press charges. You don't protect her. You don't lie for her. You give them everything they need to build a case. She's the one who got you into this mess, and she ran when things got bad. You owe her nothing. She's my wife. File for divorce or don't, but you're not protecting her anymore. Kyle stared at me. Why are you doing this? Because you're my son. Because despite everything, I can't just walk away. But this is it, Kyle. This is the last time. You screw up again. You betray me again. We're done. Permanently. No more chances. No more bailouts. You'll be on your own. I don't know what to say. Say yes or say no. Those are your options. He was quiet for a long time. Then, yes, I'll do whatever you want. Thank you. I nodded, stood up. Patricia will draw up the papers. You'll sign them before I pay Tommy. And Kyle? Don't make me regret this. I won't, I swear. I left before I could change my mind. Victor was waiting in the hospital parking lot, leaning against his car. He didn't look happy. You're really doing this, he said. I am. You know he's just going to screw you over again. Maybe, but I have to try. Why? What does he have to do to finally earn your rejection? He's my son. So you keep saying, like it's some kind of magic shield that protects him from accountability. Victor shook his head. I've seen this before, Jack. Good people, decent people, destroyed by family members who keep taking advantage. It never ends well. Then I guess I'll end badly. But at least I'll end knowing I tried. You already tried. You gave him a good life, a decent upbringing, opportunities most kids don't get. He threw it all away. That's on him, not you. I know, but I can't just abandon him. Victor stared at me for a long moment. Then he pulled out a card, wrote something on the back, and handed it to me. That's the number for a friend of mine, therapist who specializes in family trauma. You're going to need him after this blows up in your face. It's not going to blow up. Yeah, that's what they all say. He got in his car and drove off without another word. I stood in the parking lot, watching him go, wondering if he was right, wondering if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. But I'd made my choice. Now I had to live with it. Patricia's office was downtown, in a building that smelled like coffee and old carpet. She had the documents ready, spread across her conference table like a war plan. "This is highly unusual," she said as I reviewed them. "I've never structured a financial guardianship quite like this, but it should hold up legally. Kyle signs here, here, and here. You sign here. Then we get it notarized and filed with the court. And he can't get out of it? Not for 5 years unless you release him or a judge determines it's causing undue hardship, which, given his history of fraud, is unlikely. What about the payment to Tommy? That's trickier. You can't just hand $90,000 to a loan shark. There's a legal trail to consider. My suggestion is you set up a payment plan through a legitimate debt consolidation service. They'll interface with Tommy, structure the payments in a way that doesn't look like money laundering. How long will that take? A few days, maybe a week. Kyle doesn't have a week. Tommy's guys will come back. Then we move fast. I'll call in favors, expedite everything. But Jack, once you do this, there's no taking it back. That money's gone." "I understand." She looked at me with something like pity. "Do you?" "Because I've seen men throw away their entire savings trying to fix broken children. It rarely works. He's not broken. He's just lost. If you say so." I signed the documents. She notarized them, made copies, filed them electronically. By the time I left her office, I was legally responsible for my son's financial decisions for the next 5 years. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like I'd just volunteered for a prison sentence. Tommy agreed to meet again, this time in a different diner. I brought Victor despite our argument. He'd made it clear he thought I was an idiot, but he also wasn't going to let me walk into a meeting with loan sharks alone. Tommy was already there, drinking coffee and reading a newspaper. He looked up when we sat down. "Didn't expect to hear from you again," he said. "I'm here to pay Kyle's debt." His eyebrows rose. "Is that so? 90,000 paid through a legitimate debt consolidation service over the next 2 years. They'll send you monthly checks, properly documented. In return, you leave Kyle alone. No more visits, no more threats, no more interest." "That's not how it works. The debt's due now." "The debt's due when I say it's due. You want 90,000 or you want nothing. Those are your options." Tommy set down his coffee. "You got balls, old man. I'll give you that. I've got a son who made stupid mistakes and a lot of savings I'm willing to part with to fix them. Do we have a deal or not?" He studied me. 2 years is a long time. "It's what you're getting. What if your kid does something else stupid? What if he racks up more debt? That's between you and him. This payment covers the current debt only. Anything new, you can break his other arm for all I care." Tommy smiled. "I like you. You're practical. Okay, we got a deal. But the first payment better come through on time, or all bets are off." "It will." We shook hands. His grip was firm, businesslike. The big guy standing behind him nodded once. As we walked out, Victor said, "You know you just paid a criminal $90,000. "I know. And Kyle's probably going to piss away whatever second chance you're giving him." "Probably. So why do it?" I stopped, turned to look at him. "I want to know I did everything I could. I don't want to wonder what would have happened if I'd helped him. I want to know for certain, one way or another. And if he betrays you again, then at least I'll know I tried." Victor shook his head. "You're a better man than I am." "No, I'm just a father who can't let go." Kyle signed the documents 2 days later, his hand shaking as he wrote his name. The cast made it awkward, but he managed. 5 years. he said, staring at the papers. That's a long time. It's nothing compared to the prison sentence you avoided. I know, He stopped, swallowed hard. I just never thought it would come to this. Legal guardianship, like I'm a child again. You acted like a child, now you get treated like one. He didn't argue. The hospital discharged him 3 days later. I picked him up, drove him to a studio apartment I'd rented in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but clean and safe. This is for you, I said, handing him the keys. First and last month's rent paid. After that, it's on you to keep up with payments. How am I supposed to do that? I don't have a job. Then find one. You're 30 years old, college educated, capable of working. Figure it out. Nobody's going to hire me with my record. You don't have a record. The charges were never filed because I didn't press them. As far as employers know, you're clean. He looked at the apartment building, at the keys in his hand. What about Rebecca? What about her? Is she coming after me? The divorce? Is she going to fight it? Patricia served her papers last week. Rebecca didn't respond. My guess is she's moved on to her next mark. Your yesterday's news. Something crossed his face. Pain, maybe, or relief. Hard to tell. I really loved her, he said quietly. I know. I thought she loved me too. Maybe she did, in her own way. But love isn't enough when it's built on lies. He nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? What? Why did you do this? After everything, why save me? I looked at him, at this broken man who used to be my son. Because walking away would have been easier, and I'm tired of doing what's easy. I left him there, standing in front of his new apartment, and drove home alone. The house was quiet when I got back. Emptier than ever. I'd spent $90,000, signed away my peace of mind, and for what? A son who might betray me again? A relationship that might never recover? Patricia called that evening. First payment went through to Tommy. He confirmed receipt. Kyle's debt is being serviced. Good. How are you holding up? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. What do you want me to say, Patricia? That I'm having second thoughts? That I'm terrified I just made everything worse? Those would be honest responses. Fine. I'm terrified. Happy? Not particularly, but at least you're being realistic. She paused. For what it's worth, I think you did a brave thing. Stupid, maybe, but brave. That's comforting. It's the truth. Most people in your position would have walked away. You didn't. That means something. Yeah. It means I'm a sucker. It means you're a father. There's a difference. After we hung up, I sat in the living room and tried to imagine what came next. 5 years of overseeing Kyle's finances, of being responsible for his choices, of waiting for the other shoe to drop. It sounded exhausting, but I'd made my decision. Now I had to live with it. Kyle called a week later. I got a job. Doing what? Warehouse work, loading trucks, inventory management. It's not glamorous, but it pays. Good. Send me your first paycheck stub when you get it. I will. And Dad? Thank you. I know I don't deserve this, but thank you. You're right. You don't deserve it, but you've got it anyway. Don't waste it. I won't. The calls became regular after that. Weekly check-ins, financial reports, updates on his therapy sessions. He was trying, I could tell, actually making an effort. But trust doesn't rebuild in weeks. It takes months, years, maybe lifetimes. I found myself watching him carefully, looking for signs of backsliding. Every expense he reported, every decision he made, I scrutinized, waiting for the moment when he'd slip back into old patterns. It was exhausting, being suspicious of your own child. 3 months in, Victor stopped by. How's the experiment going? He's working, staying clean, going to therapy. And you believe him? I want to. That's not the same thing. I know. Victor sat down, accepted the coffee I offered. Rebecca surfaced. My stomach dropped. Where? Miami. She's engaged to some real estate guy, already planning the wedding. Apparently she's pregnant for real this time. How do you know? I keep tabs, old habits. He looked at me. Thought you should know in case she tries to contact Kyle. She won't. She got what she wanted. A rich husband, a fresh start. Kyle was just a stepping stone. Probably. But people like Rebecca, they don't think like normal people. If she needs something, she might come back around. Then we'll deal with it if it happens. Victor nodded, sipped his coffee. You look tired. I am tired. This thing with Kyle, it's wearing on you. Of course it is. I'm 62 years old, responsible for a 30-year-old man's entire financial life. I can't relax, can't trust, can't let my guard down for a second. So stop. Release him from the guardianship, walk away, get your life back. I can't. Why not? Because if I quit now, everything I've done is for nothing. The 90,000, the stress, all of it. I have to see this through. I didn't answer. 6 months in, Kyle asked to meet for dinner. Not at his apartment or my house, but at a neutral restaurant downtown. I arrived first, got a table in the back. When Kyle walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd gained weight, looked healthier. The bruises had long since faded. He looked like himself again, or at least like a version of himself that wasn't actively destroying his life. Hey, Dad, he said, sitting down. Kyle, thanks for meeting me. You said it was important. It is. He took a breath. I wanted to tell you I'm moving. My chest tightened. Where? Colorado, Denver specifically. I got a job offer there. Better pay, better opportunities, management track. And you're telling me this because? Because the guardianship extends to wherever I live. I need your approval to relocate. It's in the documents. He was right. I'd forgotten that clause. When would you leave? 2 weeks, if you approve. I studied him. Why Colorado? Fresh start. Nobody knows me there. I can be someone new, someone better. I've been going to therapy like you wanted, working through what happened. My therapist thinks distance from here would be good, help me break old patterns. Or you're running away. Maybe. But maybe running toward something is the same as running away from something else. Does it matter if the end result is better? I thought about that. What about the monthly check-ins? We can do them over the phone, video calls, whatever you need. And if you screw up out there? Then I screw up, but at least I'll be trying. The waiter came. We ordered, made small talk while we ate. It felt almost normal, like we were just a father and son having dinner. No fraud, no betrayal, no loan sharks, just family. I need to think about this, I said finally. I understand. Take your time. But I didn't need time. I knew my answer, had known it the moment he asked. Okay, I said. You can go. His face lit up. Really? Really. But the rules don't change. Monthly reports, financial oversight, therapy continues. You miss one check-in, the deal's off and I'm done. I won't miss any. I promise. Yeah, I've heard that before. His smile faded. I know, but I mean it this time. We'll see.